Hello, everyone. Hello, I'm Jim Reid, and I want to welcome you to the annual James Reid Candlelight Ceremony. And I'm very proud tonight to stand beside my daughter. Before we get started, I just want to wish everyone all the best for the season and offer you my genuine condolences.
Maybe I'll switch sides with you. Okay. I'd like to continue our introduction to honor you for coming to this event. You're going through some heavy things. I know when I've gone through heavy things, I've become desperate for someone to understand. All around you and in front of you are people who understand. No one can understand fully what you're going through, but around you and in front of you are people who understand enough that it helps. You have come tonight in the hope that attending, honoring your loss of your person in this way will be good. With everything we are, we want to satisfy that hope. With the comfort of music, light, and supportive, understanding words, we welcome you just as you are. I just want to take a minute and make sure that people in the back can hear me okay. Yes, wonderful. Thanks for the thumbs up in the back row seats. It is my pleasure to introduce our wonderful team tonight. Heather Jackson, if you wouldn't mind just standing up when I say your name, our pre-planning funeral director here at James Reid. Dorothy Trimble Hayes, she's just coming to the front, an assistant manager and funeral director. Duncan Jameson, funeral director. Therese Barrett, estate care provider. Will Brown Radcliffe, one of our pianists, and his friend Mike. Chris Murphy, local singer-songwriter on guitar and voice. Our special speaker tonight is Paula Allen, who many of you have seen speaking on one of our Global Kingston commercials and our website about coming to James Reid for the funeral for her husband, Bill Allen, who passed away about 4 years ago. Paula has been a physiotherapist, was a physiotherapist in Kingston for 35 years, lived in Kingston 55 years after a peripatetic traveling life as an army brat. Can we call you that? And she really took advantage. We had the privilege of sharing in Paula's grief through her involvement in our bereavement program, and we got to walk beside her. So we're very grateful that she'll share her insights tonight with us. Thank you, Paula. Jennifer Morgan, funeral director, who is, stay here just another minute. She is the invisible hand behind this whole event. Let's please take a moment to thank Jennifer. Thank you so much. And she also runs this is a part of our series called the Examined Life series. Every Monday, the first Monday of every month, we have a gathering in the back to which you're all welcome. Chris Walker. Chris Walker is in the back. And Chris Walker is both our celebrant here, which is like an MC for services, and now our bereavement support provider. Some of you will have known Barb Mundell, who did our bereavement support until this summer when she stepped down. And our hostesses, Lorraine and Carrie, are in the back awaiting to help you enjoy some refreshments later. We do ask you, you're very welcome to come to our reception center afterwards for some Cards Bakery treats, ramekin savory treats, and of course our hot apple cider. Someone asked me tonight how long we've been doing this. Dad, how long have we been doing this?
Probably 20 years.
I think it's 27, but yeah.
Puts me on the hot.
Always underestimates. And finally, in your handout, you received a survey about how you heard of us. If you want to fill that out, we'll still like you if you don't, but you could put that in our box here at the front as you go out, so we can just get a sense of what's working and what's not for how we try to communicate. Thank you so much for attending tonight. May you have a sense of peace.
It was 18 years ago tonight that my mom and I sat in these very pews. My dad had died suddenly and unexpectedly at Thanksgiving. How were we going to get through this first Christmas season? Well, it was community gatherings just like this that gave us a glimpse of hope. It's my wish for you as I share this reading that you will feel a sense of togetherness at this time of gathering. We come together as people drawn to life, and yet people acquainted with death. We come full of memories, those memories that are hard for us to bear, those memories that lift us and give us meaning, those memories that give us the courage to go on. We come together knowing that we are not alone, that others struggle even as we struggle, that others love even as we have loved, as we still love. We come together knowing that others hope even as we try to hope, clinging to the assurances that help us make our way from hour to hour, from day to day. May we find our full share of love and hope now and in this hour of togetherness.
I'm going to read the responsive reading, which is inside your card on your left-hand side. I'm going to be the one, and then you're all going to be the people, obviously, as we read this. Okay. Let's give you a minute to open that. Okay. May we be surrounded by understanding and caring people, and may we allow them to support and help us in our grief. May we accept the sadness we feel and the tears we shed, and know that they are the way we grieve and release our pain. May regrets, guilt, and any other hurts we carry be acknowledged and set free. May we be patient and kind with ourselves and with others who find pain and hard. No matter how shattered our lives may feel right now, may we continue to light a candle in the midst of the darkness. And may we hold on to the promise that the intensity of our grief will not last forever. New life and new hope will come.
There's a lump in my throat, there's a knot in my chest. I am tired to the bone, but I cannot rest. It's only right to feel like I do, 'cause it is my honor to cry for you. All the memories come back like a tide rolling in, and the current is strong. I go under again, so I hold my breath. What else can I do? 'Cause it is my honor to cry for you. Blessed are the ones who weep, 'cause every tear is proof of ties that bind so strong and deep that death cannot undo. So it is my honor to cry for you. I've got more than a hunch that you're somewhere so good. Be wrong to come back, even if you could. I will see you again, but until I do, It is my honor to cry for you. Blessed are the ones who weep, 'cause every tear is proof of ties that bind so strong and deep that death cannot undo. So it is my honor to cry for you. There's a lump in my throat, there's a knot in my chest, but the ache in my soul tells me I am blessed. It's when the sorrow is great, the love is too, and it is my honor to cry for you. I guess grief is the word that love must do. So it is my honor to cry for you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being with us here tonight. My name is Duncan Jameson, and I have been a member of the James Reid team as a funeral director for just over 2 years. It's quite lovely to see so many friendly faces in the chapel tonight. I'm going to talk briefly with you about what your loved ones who have passed away over the course of this year mean to us as funeral directors. I can't speak for my 5 funeral director colleagues or for Jim or Sarah Reid directly. I can only share how the families I have taken care of this past year have impacted me, and I think it's safe to say that my colleagues would likely have a similar impression to my own. People say to us all the time, "I don't know how you do what you do." Dealing with sad, hurting people every day. In fact, Therese Barrett, our estate care provider, who many of you already know, and who will be leading the candle lighting later on tonight, said those very words to me just 2 weeks ago, after she and I had both met with a particularly sad situation that a family was facing. I'm afraid I don't have any stunning, sharp-witted thing to say in response to that. 2 things come to mind, though. Firstly, myself and every other funeral director here come to this job with a genuine and sincere desire to help. Secondly, it is something that needs to be done. We as a profession are born out of the necessity of taking care of people who have passed away and to organize and fulfill the needs of their memorial and disposition. Most importantly, this needs to be done with respect, dignity, and kindness. We are taught in the funeral service program at Humber College that there isn't anyone more vulnerable than a dead human body. Even a newborn baby can cry out for assistance or when it's in distress. A person who has died can't. Having the funeral home transfer your loved one into their care is similar to a new parent dropping their child off at a daycare for the very first time. You know it will probably be all right, but there still may be doubts or concerns. You're not personally making sure that they're safe and taken care of. Many of your families have built up a deep level of trust with our funeral home over the past 169 years. Often, though, we are complete strangers to each other when we first meet. So how do we build that trust? In the span of a couple of hours while we make funeral arrangements. My colleagues and I may differ slightly in our approaches, but the end result is the same. It is how we learn to trust one another in any situation. We talk to you. We have a conversation. We get to know each other a little bit. As American psychologist and philosopher Rollo May said, communication leads to community. That is to understanding, intimacy, and mutual valuing. That connection is a two-way street. We give a little of ourselves, and we get a little bit of you and your loved one in return. Each time we talk to others, we're sharing a part of ourselves with them. When my father was a young man, he worked in a funeral home. It had a very profound impact on him. And he would always say, death is the great equalizer. It's true. We all die. Every person that ever was or ever will be will die one day. Rich, poor, young, old, happy, sad, everyone passes away. As funeral directors, we see this every single day. We take care of people from every walk of life, every background. The situations in which people die are as diverse as their backgrounds. The little old lady who lived a good, long, meaningful life, who passed away in her sleep in her own bed in her 90s. The homeless person who dies in an alley with no family to take responsibility for them. And everything in between. Good deaths, expected deaths, sudden deaths, tragic deaths, accidental deaths. We take care of all these people. And we meet with their loved ones after the death has occurred. So think back now to what I said about the two-way nature of having a conversation, of the giving and receiving that takes place. If indeed every time we talk to each other, we share a part of ourselves, then in the arrangement office, you are sharing part of your loved one and your grief with us. Now, this isn't always the sharing of sadness. The sadness is there to be sure. But sometimes, as funeral directors, we are let in on family dynamics, even antics, and fascinating or hilarious stories about the person you have lost. I have learned about veterans that have served this country, about pioneering women who overcame barriers and cleared paths for generations behind them, immigrant stories, tales about the sacrifices that the greatest generation made during the Great Depression or the Second World War, about the love and tenderness that the astounding families of Kingston and the surrounding area have shown to each other. I have seen and heard a remarkable amount of gut-bursting laughter emanate from our arrangement offices. And I'm thankful every time for the opportunity to laugh with you. There's been a lot of crying in those offices too. Those of you who I have served this past year may have noted this particular crybaby's eyes misting over from time to time. And some of you here tonight have even pointed it out to me during the arrangements. Now, this is something that funeral directors don't talk about. How the people we serve actually affect us. That sometimes we take on a little bit too much of the grief that the families we serve. But we do. There isn't something to be, it's not something to be ashamed of, though. It just means that we connected with you, that the two-way street of communication was open and free of clutter or traffic. At our funeral home, we take the confidentiality of the families we serve very seriously. We don't talk openly about the families we've served. We speak at home in the most general of terms, especially when we're asked, how was work today? My wife, Amanda, knows and accepts this. With one look at my face as I cross the threshold of our front door, she can tell what kind of day it's been. And on those days, when there's been more crying than laughter in my arrangement office, she always says the same thing. You get the families you do for a reason. And she's right. Maybe that family needed the reassurance that it was okay to say goodbye to their dad or their mom and see them one last time so that they could say goodbye. Maybe that family needed to have their feelings of grief and sadness validated by crying with a stranger. Maybe the person with no family needed and deserved to have someone stand at their graveside. Maybe they needed to feel safe and secure enough to grieve. Or maybe they just needed to be heard. Tonight we're gathered here to honor our loved ones lost this year. Many of you have already memorialized and celebrated their lives in your own way. We host this candle lighting service because we know how beneficial it can be to you to commemorate the departed in community. To be perfectly honest with you, speaking as a funeral director who has served many of you during this past year, is beneficial to us as well. That give and take process, that two-way street of communication, left a piece of your loved one with each one of us. And we honor all of them tonight. Thank you.
This evening, we invite you to create a new tradition, one that reflects the significant change in your lives, one that honors your person whom you are missing. You each received a little card when you arrived this evening. And it's a small little card, and you received a pen. In a few moments, our pianist will play. During this time, please use the back of your card to write the name of your person and a few words in memory of them. For those who are attending online, you may add your loved one's name and a comment by clicking on the chat symbol on the side of your screen. Alternately, just take a piece of paper and create your own memory card at home. For all of you, we invite you to take the card home and to include it in a new ritual. Some ideas are to tuck it under your pillow, place it at a special place on your table, tuck it onto your tree, or maybe send it in a card to someone who loves you and who knows what this means to you. Please take this time now to enjoy the music and to reflect and write on your memory cards.
Thank you so much for that music. It makes me calm. It might bring out emotion in you, but it brings calm to me and peace. Thank you, Chris. I'm Paula Allen, as Sarah introduced me. Can you hear me at the back? You may not be able to see me. I'm very short, but I'm here. And hello to the people at home or watching from far away. You're included just as much in this event tonight. So, Sarah and Therese, thank you very much for inviting me to speak this evening. Sarah, I've known your father longer than I've known you, but I've come to appreciate your insights by attending the grief sessions here. And Therese, after my husband's funeral, you were my very first one-on-one support person other than my family. And that's how I was led to the monthly support sessions. So I thank you both for believing that I had something to say tonight. For a little background, my husband Bill and I were married for over 49 years. I know I don't look that old, but I am. So he died after only a week of a very acute illness. He was a very healthy man. And it was right before the pandemic started, right before. So I've had a few years along this path of grief that many of you might be just starting now. And so I've learned so many things in those 4 years, because it's new until you're in the situation. But I have learned that every person's grief story is different. The circumstances of your loved one's death, whether it was a prolonged illness or sudden trauma, whether it was a child or a spouse or a parent, the timing of the events, your family dynamics, there are so many factors that make your grief unique. But I know there's a similarity in all of us, and that is that there's a huge hole in your heart. And so the timeline of coping with that emptiness, it stretches as long as you need. If you're an independent, competent person, it doesn't make it any easier because it's all new. But early coping is much more manageable if you have support from maybe a family member or a close friend or somebody from the funeral home, because you just need a listener. You just need somebody to give you a hug if that's what you need, or just to be there. If you have young mouths to feed at home, you have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you might be on automatic pilot, but you do what you have to do. I found I was able to do some things early on, like notifying people and businesses and filling out forms and writing thank you notes. But there were some things like reading that I just couldn't do. And I thought I should be reading things about grief to find out what I was supposed to be doing. And I couldn't make sense of anything that I read. And usually before that I was a reader. And the words just didn't make any sense. I might read a paragraph twice and still didn't know what it was talking about. But that fog, it lifts very gradually, but it lifts. So I give you hope, and I want to tell you that it might take a while, but it will lift if you're in that fog. But you're here, so that's great. What I'd like to offer you tonight is a toolbox of ideas for coping with things like events and Christmas. Whether you have a faith in God or not, there's a definite difference in the air at this time of year. Stores are filled with decorated trees, and your neighbors' houses have colored lights on them, and TV ads are all talking about festive food. And you might just want to run away from it all because it's too fresh. And you got to do what you got to do, but just make sure you have some support because your whole world has changed. But having a plan, however small that plan is It'll make the day and the days leading up to Christmas so much more manageable and so much more in your control. Worrying about an event coming up can be so much worse than the actual event, especially if you don't even have a plan. You might not even stick to your plan, but at least you have the basics of a plan. I realize now that I had help from family members. They listened to my anxiety about buying presents and going into stores and wrapping gifts. I just didn't want to do it. And so I didn't. Bill died in November. It was very fresh. I couldn't do it. So I didn't. And so you have to decide what you can do. I wasn't even present for people opening presents. And I know my grandchildren, they felt the absence. They didn't understand it, perhaps, because they're pretty young. But that first year, that's what I decided to do. And you know what? It was okay. And it was marginally better the next Christmas. And now I enjoy Christmas. So I think I am progressing along my path. Whenever an event like Christmas approaches, or an anniversary of a death of your loved one, or a birthday, I remind myself that a plan brings me control and even positivity. I become aware of the 5 senses, and that's what I want to tell you about tonight in my journey, and you might take some of these points home to consider at some point. The first is hearing. Now, you might want to listen to music that you enjoyed together with your loved person, or maybe it's the kind of music that calms you and that takes you to the place where you need to be. Maybe when you're on your way to the mailbox down the street, maybe hum a couple of lines of A Christmas Carol. Or maybe think of your loved one when you hear the geese honking overhead, or hearing waves splash on rocks on the waterfront. Whatever makes sense to you. The senses of taste and smell are very closely related. Maybe make or even buy a dish that you loved together or that you love by yourself. Or maybe make a Christmas treat. Or maybe in the back of your fridge there's a jar of marmalade that your person loved, and you could have it on Christmas morning on a warm bun. It'll just make their presence real to you, and it might be comforting. I'll tell you about one little plan that I have developed over these 4 years, and that involves a Black Russian, and that's a cocktail, and it was my husband's favorite. It's got Kahlua or vodka. It's got some good stuff in it, but it's very alcohol-y. Anyway, I make one on his birthday in July, and I sit and I sip that outside in the evening, and I smell fresh-cut grass. Because we were both very avid gardeners, and we spent a lot of time outside, and sometimes I curse him for it now because there's so much garden to look after. But on his birthday, I honor him with a Black Russian and smelling the grass in the dark night. So tears on that occasion, on his birthday, have been replaced with gratitude. So I don't cry on his birthday. I mean, sometimes I cry at the oddest times, but it's not as often as it was. And now it's much more positive when I have a memory, or when I see him in somebody's facial expression, or I see somebody in front of me walking along the street and has the same kind of gait as Bill did. Being a physiotherapist, I'm always looking at people's gait and how they walk and how they're limping. And anyway. But anyway, the gratitude that I feel so strongly on his birthday particularly is because I was loved by him for such a long time. So the fourth sense I want to talk about is touch. Now, there's nothing wrong with you wearing a soft shirt of theirs, because you always love the feel of that soft flannel. It's a wonderful feeling. Or how about this winter when you're shoveling snow, wear that person's toque or his gloves or his mitts. Or maybe next May when you're planting flowers, maybe you would consider wearing the rubber knee pads of your loved one if they have some in the garage. It's just a way of keeping the spirit with you. I'm convinced. And the last sense that I want to talk to you about is sight, because we are very sight dominant people if you have sight. And one of my very good friends didn't have sight. She was blind all her life, but she had sight. She knew people. She could see inside a lot more than I could see inside. So everybody does have sight if you care to listen to it. So when an event comes along, when you know that you need a plan, you can consider going somewhere that you enjoyed together. And if you have had any one-on-one sessions with grief counselors, that's often something that they encourage you to do. Go somewhere to see something that you enjoyed together. Maybe along the shoreline on Lake Ontario, or maybe in a park, or maybe go to Westport to go up to the top of Foley Mountain and see that majestic water view below you. It could be a lot simpler plan, like watching a movie that you enjoyed together or that you enjoy yourself that brings up lots of emotion. Maybe another sight experience is slowly flipping through some photos in an album from a shared holiday. That vacation will bring back lots of good memories. And since winter's here and there's long, dark hours, perhaps glance up and look at the moon, because you both looked at that moon many times, probably together, or seeing a sky filled with stars. I feel it's like a hug from Bill. And you might feel some of those same emotions. There are connections that you had with your person of why you loved them so deeply that you can recreate and remember with gratitude as the time goes by. So hearing, taste and smell, touch, and sight. You've got stuff in your toolbox. I hope that this coping toolbox is perhaps a little fuller, and when you go home, you can think about it in your quiet times. Perhaps you can feel moments of calm and gratitude. Gratitude brings that warmth. I wish that Christmas brings you some quiet peace. I can't say Merry Christmas. Never liked Merry Christmas. Everybody doesn't have to be merry. I just wish you peace. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Walking home from school on a cold winter day, took a shortcut through the woods. I lost my way. It was getting late. I was scared and alone. A kind old man took my hand, led me home. Mama couldn't see him. He was standing there. And I knew in my heart he was the answer to my prayer. Oh, I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hours to show us how to live, to teach us how to give, to guide us with a light of love. Life had troubled times, had me down on my knees. There's always been someone to come along and comfort me. A kind word from a stranger to lend a helping hand, a phone call from a friend just to say I understand. Ain't it kind of funny, at the dark end of the road, someone lights the way with just a single ray of hope. Oh, I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hours to show us how to live, to teach us how to give, to guide us with a light of love. They wear so many faces, show up in the strangest places, grace us with their mercies in our time of need. Oh, I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hours to show us how to live, to teach us how to give, to guide us with a light of love, to guide us with a light of love.
Sorry, I'm not a techie. Okay, can you all hear me? Okay. We are going to light our candles tonight. The first candle that we light is to remember. So we want to remember the pain of the grief of our love, the loss of relationships, the loss of trust. We want to remember the loss of jobs, the loss of health, and the loss of faith, the loss of joy, and the loss of those we love. We light the second candle to recognize our courage, the courage to confront our sorrow, to comfort each other, and the courage to change our lives. We light this third candle to remember. We pause and remember the past weeks, months, and the loss of the years that have been heavy with our burdens. We remember the time we laughed and cried, the times we were angry with each other, the silly things we all did, and you remember the joy and caring you gave us. As we light these 4 candles, for you, our special people who have died, we light one for our grief, one for our courage, one for our memories. And for those who we love. We light the candle. Sorry, there's extra candles that I didn't count it to. We light these candles in honor of you, our people, our special people who have died. We light one for our, dear Lord. Okay. Funeral directors are great at talking all the time. I'm great at ad-libbing. We light the 4th candle. We light the 4th candle for those whom we have loved. We pause to remember clearly their faces, their voices, their bodies. We embrace and give thanks to them for the memories that bind us to them during this season. There is a special place reserved in our hearts for them, and we are thankful for the gift your living brought to each one of us. We love you. It will light.
Thank you. Would everyone please bring out their candle? We ask you to turn it on underneath and hold it in the palm of your hand. Now we will keep a moment of silence. We will take this moment before we sing Silent Night. The words of Silent Night are inside or on the back of your book, but for now we'll just be quiet. here we conclude the James Street candlelighting ceremony. Thank you for participating with us. Even in the sadness of loss, there is goodness in sharing it, in being understood and understanding, in being what we are now. We invite you to place your candle on the table beside the lit candles as you go to the reception. It becomes quite a sea of candles, and if you wish to come and take a photograph, you're more than welcome to. Similarly, the decorations on the tree are very meaningful to go and look at, especially if you have brought one that you've made. And you're welcome. We'll help you if you'd like us to take a picture of you with any of these things. I'd like to thank Cassandra Collins for ushering in the back and guiding people with the tree. We are all available, and we look forward to meeting you if you so wish. As Paula has said, may you have peace. Thank you.
Stay for the reception? Yeah.
She was at the front door. She's